Hello. The truth why we turn to God over Satan. Uh, a lot of people don't understand something. This is for people who don't understand why. In our lives, in everybody's lives, we have a lot of sad things going on or bad things, and we need peace, we need love. Now, let me just say this. They say Satan is eye sin, but God's eyes go to and fro over the whole earth. His eyes behold everything. God created the angels and Satan. His name was Lucifer at the time. God has all power. Now, we are in God's loving period, but back in the day, God said, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. God still has a wrath. God slew people in the Old Testament, before Jesus came. And God allowed things to happen. But God, in our grace time, God is loving, but God can also allow things to happen to you, to shake you up. But God is going to go back to the same God. He never changed, but he's going to be that same God of wrath. Because when he comes back, he's going to bring his wrath, and he's going to punish Satan for all the people that he had murdered all through the years from the beginning of time. He's going to pay for every price. But let me tell you something. Don't think because Christians always say, well, believers always say, well, I'm going to pray, I'm pray. It's not that prayer does change things. And when we pray, people are delivered. And what people fail to know, the ones who are satanic or the ones who worship, who believes in Satan and worshiping him, God gives those who accept God and said, God, I'm tired of this happened. Satan's doing this and this and this. I want to be protected. I want your spirit in me, inside of me. And just like, the Israelites were being possessed by the devil, the spirit being in them, but it torments them, it hurts them, it makes them stab themselves, it makes them, it's all in the Bible. And Jesus came to heal. Now, the devil is not more powerful than Jesus. Jesus healed the people. He cast the demons out. And let me tell you how powerful he is for those who don't understand why we say yes to the Lord or how we want to be on his side. There was a man who was possessed with demons. It was 2,000 demons in him. And as Jesus was walking, he stayed in the tomb and he was cutting himself, and people were afraid of him. And when they chained him up, people break it like it wasn't nothing. But he ran towards Jesus and bowed down. And these are the demons that were in him, because they knew that he was the Holy One. They said, we know who thou art, the Holy One of God. Now you tell me why people think that believers are weak. They begged Jesus. They said, do you come to torment us before our time? We beg you, please send us into the pigs. Now, for you people that are always thinking that the demons are stronger, see, we're on the strong side. The Father is the creator of all things. He created Satan. He gave Satan power. He gave the angels power. We go to God because he protects us from the demons. He gives us strong power. So when a person with a demon in them, we have the power to cast them out of that person from tormenting them, or stopping a tragic from happening, praying over somebody's life to save them from hurt, danger, and harm from the enemy. And you get all this from the power of God, but you have to surrender yourself to him and let him come into you and say, I want your spirit in me. Then we have power over the devil, over Satan. So it's a lot of people that do not know God. They don't know how powerful God is. All they know that there's a God up above who is allowing believers not to have anything. That's not true. Abraham, he was rich. Job was rich. But this is what Satan does. Satan watched, who God blesses. So he came to God in the midst and said, and God knows everything, but he asks him this: where comest thou? And the Satan says, seeking whom he said, going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour. He could not devour anything if they was covered over, if God had a covering over them. So he said, God said, have you considered my servant Job? So God knows. He didn't have to ask Satan. He knew what Satan was doing, but that's the way God is. He asked. He said, the reason why Job is rich and the reason why he had this, because you protected him. You got a hedge over him. God was going to continue to keep a hedge over him. He said, I bet you he'll curse you in your face. Job will curse you in your face if you take all the things from him. But God knew that he was a righteous man and he was perfect. So God said this: go ahead and do what you will, but you will not touch his life. He had to go to God to ask. And so God gave him permission. But Job overcame that, and then God blessed him double. So don't think because believers is on God's side that we don't get blessed. There's people saying, uh, you know, uh, the believers of God are poor and they're weak and all that. No, we have power over Satan and we can stop his work. But you have to have it in you, and we have to fast and pray and all this stuff. This is just like uh, people go to Satan and do these rituals and worship Satan. We worship God, and we read the word, and we ask God to come in. So when he comes into us, we commune that way. That's why we won't go to God, because he protects us and he gives us power over the enemy. That is why. So I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Because Satan has lied to somebody and told them, his followers, that believers are weak. God don't do anything for us, and we don't live in poor. Let me tell you else how God does this, and this is the way it always been. This is our wages, believers, to to do the work of God. His whole purpose of even bringing you to this earth, touching you through your mother's womb. Yes, he put man and woman together to come together and be intimate to have a baby. But excuse my vernacular, the snot to come out, the egg and the whatever, is just that. But God forms it. He blew the breath of life into Adam. He formed him from the dust of the earth, and he formed us in our mother's womb. He tells them to get together, so human to human, and then God does the increase. God does the rest, and he forms them, so he knows if that person is going to be a great man of God, a great woman of God, or the follower of Satan or whatever. But you got to remember that God chose 12 disciples. He knew from the beginning who had the devil in him, and he still loved them. And he loved Judas Iscariot. But this is where he was talking to Satan, which was in Judas, and said, they said, who is it that's going to betray? He said, the one that I dip my hands into, like the food. So anyway, he gave it to Judas, and then he looked at Judas, but he was talking to Satan. He said, whatever you do it quickly, because he knew the whole purpose of Jesus coming down is to shed his blood. That's the only way that God can take over again, because human was doomed. Because when Adam was tricked, Satan continues to kill. He continues to possess people. But even in that time, Enoch was perfect. He walked with God. He was so perfect, God took him. God also took Elijah. So don't say, but Elijah had power because of God. He parted the water when they walked. He commanded the fire to come out of the sky and consume. He stopped it from raining. That's power. And you say, well, Satan can do it too. But you remember in the Old Testament when it talks about Moses, how Moses had his rod and it was turned into a serpent. And the soothsayers did the same thing. The magicians made theirs turn. But the Bible said that God's the sniper, the cobra, whatever it was, devoured the other two. But that was to show the Egyptians how powerful God is. God has all power. So we're not weak. We have power. And I'm gonna tell you something else. You know how the world goes and get a quick high? Well, when we receive God and we get a touch from Him, we get a high. Sometimes God just touches and we feel that, and people just keep shouting because they want more. But then they shout because they rejoice. But when God comes in you, you have to be clean. You have to be clean. You can't live both lives. And He does blesses you financially. But He came down not in royal apparel, just like Elijah. He said, "What did you go out to see? A man in soft raiment?" No. But you can He said John was more than a prophet. So Jesus told the people, "I'm not from this world. This is not my kingdom." His kingdom is of riches. And so Satan knows that God does step by step by step. This is how we work. This is our wages. Why are we on this earth to preach to other people? To bring them in. God wants them to come with Him. But He said, how can you hear unless you hear a preacher? So He sends us when we surrender to Him. So when we get on there and pray, does not mean we're weak. We have a powerful prayer. We can knock Satan back to hell. His work. He has an assignment for people. And to have somebody murdered. And the power that God give us, we can rebuke that and we can send it back to hell, and that will happen. So don't think that believers are weak. They'd rather choose Satan saying that I'm rich and then I'm going to rule. The devil, Satan promised that I will rule with him. No, he's lying to you. You don't have no kingdom. Your kingdom where you're going to be tortured. He's using you when he's done with you. And all he wants to use you for is to pull people in, just like he copies God. To pull people in to lure more people to Satan so he can have them destroyed. But he's using you. When you stop doing that, he's going to destroy you because he don't need you anymore. He has no use for you. But as long as you're doing what he asking you to, he's going to keep on allowing you to have the money and fast money. But that's not how God does it. Only thing Satan can give you is fast money. He can't heal. He probably can get into somebody's body and cause an infirmity. He can't heal. He'll just jump from one body to another. But God heals the infirmity that Satan has put on a person. Just like in the Bible when Jesus said, when the lady was walking bowed for 18 years, I think, or 38 years, I can't remember. Jesus said that he healed her and said, and these Pharisees was upset. He said, you don't think, in other words, that God can heal this person that Satan has bowed for all these years. But the reason why she was bowed down and a lot of people were blind to things is to show that God is powerful. That's what he did in Egypt, and that's what he did when he was on earth, because his disciples said, why is this man blind? Did his parents sin or did the blind man sin? He said, neither one of them. He said, but it was done for the purpose to show the glory of God, how powerful God can be. So God's going to give all these. Only thing the Satan give you is money. You take that money and you go buy cars, and you get all these type of women, but then you ask them for other things too, infirmities. But God has all this. Look, God in heaven has flowers that sing, that rock back and forth, grass with diamonds in it, a big mansion. He promises a mansion, but this is the way he do it. You have to be tested. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments, and you will, he said, unless you endure till the end. This is a battle. This is why we're here, is Satan against God. And you have the children of the devil and you have children of God. And we're fighting each other. We have to, because Satan comes to destroy. And he was mad because he got kicked out of heaven, because he was lifted up in pride. God made him beautiful, made him more wisdom than all of them. And God told Satan a lot of things. And Satan thought he knew over God, because God shared a lot of things. God told him a lot of things, but God didn't tell him everything. So he said, I'm going to lift myself above God. I'm going to set my throne above God. Really? Oh no, you got the wrong. So this is what happened. The war broke out. Satan got kicked out into heaven, and when he went to the earth, he was mad and angry. He said, "Whatever God, when God started making man, he started getting into people, making them murder each other, Cain, and all these things. But even in the midst of that, God still had people who followed him. You know, like Enoch. He was perfect. Um, but it is worth it because because of the joy that God gives us when we receive. A lot of people don't have peace. We have peace within, and it makes us love people and want to help people and pray this and pray, and that's why prayer works. From those, a fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. You have to live a life. You can't be, uh, up and down. And I should have wrote down some things. There's a lot of things that I want to say, and I know people hate when you write across the video, but that's because we forget sometimes. When you do live, there's a lot of things I wanted to add, but God goes before us. God's angels, warrior angels, protect us. And you got to remember when that those demons, those 2,000 demons was in those men. A lot of them said, "We know who you are, the Holy One of God. And do you come to torment us before our time?" They know they're gonna be tormented. God could have destroyed Satan and the angels just for disobedience, just for that. But He did do the people like that. But the all the angels is in a different form than we, and everybody's gonna live forever. You have a soul that I can't see. You might feel sad, I can't see it, but when everything belongs to God. But um, when the war broke out, he fell to the earth. He realized, it says, "Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth," because Satan comes down with full wrath because he's angry. And so, any humanity, he hates humanity. He hates that you even look like God. The Bible says God sits on a throne, and Moses begged to see God, but he said, You can't look at my face and live." So he talked to him. He said, "You can see my backside." But even with this backside, God took his hands and put it behind his back. It was just so much glory. He told him behind the cleft, and that was still too much. So that means God has hands. God sits down. That means he's got he can form into any form. But he said he will make man out of his image and his likeness. So um, you have to find out the truth. If you don't understand the Bible, I don't know. A lot of these people on video on YouTube, they can explain some things. There's a lot of people who had near death experience or died and came back, and they can tell you things about hell and they can tell you things about heaven. But you need to understand why we are on the Lord's side, because it's a safe side. And then when we get rewarded, Jesus said, um, he talks about, uh, I have to go. When I go, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, you may be also. And he said, in my Father's house are many mansions. And if it was not so, I would not have told you. So the way God does it is believe. He still blesses financially here and bless us with things, but we'll have more than what the people who they say Satan gives them things. There's all kinds of things. Beautiful city, gold city, and not only that, live forever. But everybody wants the fast money, but you live for a short time, and then it's torment. He said that you will die, you will burn forever and ever. And just like I said, God could have destroyed Satan and angels, but he had a plan. I'm sure Satan was upset when God formed man to be dominion over the earth when he fell. But see, when Jesus died on the cross, he took the keys of hell from Satan, giving us a chance to be in the fold with God. But a lot of times, back in the old days, Satan will have to keep getting permission from God, because he knows he cannot hurt the people or bother the people who belongs to God. He can't do it because they got a protection over, and we have power over Satan because God give it to us. And just because you claim it don't mean you have it. You have to receive it. And he comes in you, and you can't even control yourself. But a lot of us are joyous, and we when we shout. But see, there's no fear in evil. When we get out of the line of God, when we get out of line of God, and we go towards the world, we feel something. It's icky, and we know we don't belong there, and we go into Satan's territory. But see, Satan can't stand prayer. He can't stay around us. So while you saying that Satan is your daddy or whatever, you're gonna die with him. And our purpose is to lure more people. Satan is to lure more people to him so everybody can die with him. Our purpose is to lure more people to God so that we can live forever, and in peace and in love. He said, no more crying, no more dying, no more sadness, no more tears. Why don't you want to do? And see, that's why wide is the gate, but narrow is the way. And people is too squeezy for people like, I don't know if I can do that. But it's a test. He'll bless you, but it's still a test. When you endure, oh man, when he comes back, it says the earth, the people who they're going to be in great fear, and they're going to be hiding under rocks and things like that. But God is who we choose. God is greater. God has power. God can blow and blow up this what's his breath. He can tear up this whole world. That's how strong he is. He's all I seen, just like he told Cain after Cain killed him, where's your brother? He said, am I my brother's keeper? God knew where he was. He said, what? Where? He said, your brother's blood cried out to me through the ground. What have you done? And just like he knew when Adam and Eve, he said, where are you? Because after they sinned, he said, we hid because we were naked. He said, who told you were naked? Satan told them they were naked. He said, if you eat that, you become gods. And he probably said, now you're shameful. So they became shame when they were naked. They did not know sin. They were not ashamed. But then God said, where are you? We hid. He said, have you eaten the apple? I'm sorry, not the apple. Have you eaten the fruit that I told you not to eat? He knows everything. But he don't have to be like us. We always say, I saw you, and no, he already knew. But he just asking him, are you going to tell me the truth? Or just talk to me. I'm asking you, where's your brother? I know where he is, but where is he? So when we go through trials and tribulations and things like that, Jesus said, rejoice, be exceeding glad. And I'm like, be exceeding glad to her. He said, because great is your reward in heaven. You get more than just a mansion. You get a crown. You get, so why not? Of course, Satan going to make it easier for you by getting the fast money. I want it now. He knows flesh can't wait, don't want to wait. So he does that. You're going to sit on your little pedestal for it, but it's destruction. He said, why gain the whole world and lose your soul? He said, don't be afraid what people can do to you, to your body. Be afraid what he said, be afraid of what, in other words, I can do. Be afraid of the person who can kill not only your body but your soul into hellfire. That's all they can do. It's, a lot of disciples, they died for Christ's sake, but that's all they can do. But their soul is not in hell. But they even got great. Look, their name is in heaven. Their name is on the New Jerusalem wall. But you have to pay a big price for that. It's a price on both sides. Sometimes, a lot of times, we got to take ridicule. It's not saying to be a punk, but you can still stand your ground. Jesus came in the temple, saw them selling doves and sheeps and lambs and all these stuff in the temple. Jesus by himself. And I already said I saw him anyway in my prophetic dream. He ain't a little skinny man. He's a dark man. He's darker than me. He's not dark, but he's dark. He was thick. He was like 6 something or 6, but he was like real, but you can tell in the clothes, but it wasn't laying on like that. But he took the cords, time together. He drove them out by himself. All of them against him. And then you said that Jesus is sissy. He knocked over the tables, knocked the money changers on the floor, ran them out of there and told them to get out of here. He said, take these things hence. Take it with you. Get out of here. He said, my Father's house is a house of prayer. And he going like this. It says he drove them out of there. He tied the cords together. He had power. And the other reason why Jesus ran after that, because he didn't run when it was time for him to die. He knew that wasn't the time, so he had to escape. He was using wisdom, and he wasn't afraid of them, because when they came to get him, he said, "Who seekest thou?" They said, "Jesus of Nazareth." He said, "I am he." They fell backwards, and he looked at them. They got him. They still looking at him. He said, "Who seekest thou?" Jesus not. He said, "I already told you I am he." And he said, "Now you coming with stabs and swords and things, and I've just come, But he did. And one more thing before I get off. A lot of these people, satanic people, said that Jesus was on a chain because Satan put him on the chain, and he's begging, Father, why, what was this? Lord, why, what was that? Anyway, where he says, leaving him by himself when he was on the cross. I don't know why my mind's getting so blank. Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? That wasn't what happened. Jesus died on the cross with no sin, but he was being treated as though he was a sinner. He knew that he had to die. He said that. He said, if there's another way to go, because he saw the future, what was going to happen. He said, I came for this purpose. He said, but if remove this cup from me for what he see, but if there's any other way that I have to die, not my will, but your will. But that's not true. Satan is the one that's trained. They work in spiritual activity. He's going to be released again on earth. But Jesus went through the hell and brought when he resurrected, he talked to the spirits and not the angels, because they were doomed. The angels were doomed for hell, period. God wanted it like that because he said, I got a plan. It was almost like a contract between him and the devil, like, I'm going to let you live to do these things, because he gave us a choice. When he made the angels and he made us, he's like, okay, now I'm going to give man a choice. Either go to me or the devil. But in the end, when it's done, when God was ready to come and get us, get his people, the grace will be gone. He's going to become the God he was in the beginning, and with his wrath, and it's going to wipe this whole earth is going to melt. But he's going to punish Satan and his angels more than from the beginning of time, like I said, until the end of time. They're going to pay for everything they've done with the murdering people, murdering babies and things. All that stuff is going to anyway, I talked long enough, but I just wanted to explain. People like, I'd rather go to the devil than God, and this is why we go. Prayer is not a sissy thing. Prayer changes things. It makes things work. It cancels Satan's assignment against God's people and against the ones who are in sin. You have people who pray, the Lord protect them from this or that and that. But also we have power over the devil. Okay? So that's why. Who's on the Lord's side? Let him come, and that will be me. All right.